Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Everything's cool? Okay. Well, thank you. And today we are live at the Emmanuel Temple Garden in South Vallejo. I don't know if you guys can see behind me. It's an overcast day and it's been kind of raining a little bit, but we're in good spirits and excited to bring you Kids in the Garden. These are just basic activities that we're going to offer, different crafts. But because we're in the garden, we want to start off with a mindfulness exercise, something that sort of gets you prepared for being in this space. I know you can probably hear a little traffic going on, but even though we're in the garden, we want to be thinking about green. So we want to take a few deep breaths in and a few deep breaths out, maybe a 4 count in and a 4 count out, and then maybe close your eyes. Feel the air that is on your body. Feel your breath inside your body. Listen to your heart. Sort of get yourself ready for the space. And then when you open your eyes, take a look around and look at something that you've seen before and try to find something new, something different about what it is that you're looking at. And that's just a way to get your mind ready for the space that we're in right now. For those that are following at home, I did create a way to follow. So the first thing that we're going to do today, we're going to work on our terrariums. The next thing will be the garden wind chimes. Leaf painting is the third. The sun catchers, the river rock markers, and then the scavenger and bug hunt. So if you get your things in order that way, you'll be able to follow along with me. And as again, I said, the first one is terrarium. And we have our items here. The first thing I wanted to show you is that I stopped by and grabbed a store-bought terrarium. This one is for aloe. And if you open it up, you'll notice it's just basically rock and a little bit of dirt and a little bit of soil and some of our seeds. So I wanted to show you this one because mine is so much better. I wanted to give you guys an idea of what it was that you could buy at the store. The terrarium ingredients or the terrarium pieces that you need a small jar. This is a mason jar, some rocks, some small rocks, a little soil, and then something to plant. Now the way I've done these vertically where you have it this way, and I've done it horizontally. We're going to do this one horizontally. And the first thing you want to do is add a few rocks. Then we want to put a little soil in there. And as you noticed, I'm not being, just kind of like throwing it in. I'm not really being polite, not being nice. And then actually I have a little clover that I grabbed from the garden earlier today. And we're just going to stick that right inside, right up against the soil. And then close it up. A very simple and quick project that you can do. You could also mist whatever it is that you planted to make sure that it stays moist. But you can keep this inside a terrarium and it'll grow for a little while without very much water. And I would suggest maybe a few spritzes of water once or twice a week, and you got yourself a cool project. Let me stop for a second and back up. I wanted to introduce you guys to some of the people here that are helping us out behind the camera. I know you can't see them, but there's Dylan and Darlene is on the computer ready to ask any questions. If you guys are in the chat and you have some questions or some comments, she's ready to shout them out to me so I can answer them for you. Dylan and Darlene both belong to a company called Shadow Power. And if you hadn't heard, I'm John from Ground Troops. So anyway, that's a very easy project to make. I like to use that project for the younger people who might not be able to grab and hold on to certain things very easy. You can take these. Okay. the next one we're going to do are the garden wind chimes. And I actually did a couple of these projects together with a few people. And I can tell you that you can tell the difference between what they've done and what I did. This is mine. This is what someone else did. You can tell I'm not as crafty as I thought I was when I decided to take on this project. But if you listen, they do make quite a bit of noise. And what we made these out of, the pieces for this are mini flower pots. We got a few here, a couple different sizes, some ribbon. I don't see the string. You probably got that back there somewhere, but we did use a little bit of the string. I didn't use the ribbon. Thank you. Just showing you guys what it looks like. I didn't use the ribbon because I thought this would be a little bit more durable as I was going through the project. And then you can use different things. We used a few bells. Can you see that in there? Just different colored bells, buttons, beads. We did it all. We put a whole bunch of different pieces in here, and the idea of making one of these is very simple. I would suggest, if you're going to paint it, that you paint before you put it together because you want to get a chance to dry. But if you take a look at this, this is very simple. We basically used the bells to make a knot to stop the rope or the twine or the string from going through the bottom of the flower pot. You start with the last one first, and you keep going until you finish your 3 chain, and then basically you can hang this thing up and you got your garden wind chimes. Excuse me. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I can. I need the scissors. So, go ahead. Was that a question? Super cute. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I'm just tying a knot in the bell. That's all I'm doing, and I'm going to take this end.
John, we have a question. She's asking if you put clover seeds in the terrarium.
That was actual clover that I pulled straight from the soil. I did not use seeds. I thought that you could use seeds, but I thought that the clover, putting it right in right away, would look cooler and it would still grow. So that was just one of my little cheats. You could use seeds though. So I didn't string this, but if you notice, I used the bell to stop it from moving up and down the string. And basically you would string this with whatever pieces that you want. What I'm going to do is string another bell so that you can see how it kind of hangs together. Some people told me in order to make the stringing part easy, it might be a good idea to put a little glue on the end of your string to make sure it slides in and out of your bell. Okay, so I'm just making another knot. And then we'll hang another flower pot. I didn't take any precise measurements on purpose. I kind of got the feeling or the idea that the garden is perfect in its own way. So anything that you put together to complement the garden should be perfect. And as you saw, like I told you, I don't know if you guys can tell how terrible this is. But this would really, you know, if we're hanging this up, anything you guys can do will be amazing. Are there any questions on?
Should the pots hit each other?
So I made 2. One of them, the pots don't. If you notice, they're a little bit separate and it still makes noise. And the other one, The pots are very close to each other, and the pots actually increase the sound too. So you can do it either way. The pots can hit, they don't have to. The wind, we had this hanging up for a little while, and the wind did not knock this around to damage it.
Can we insert a close-up of the finished terrarium? Someone wants to know if they can just see that close-up.
Sure. Do you have it? This is the other one. Yeah, that's sideways. Darlene, you gotta give it to him. This one. That's the finished product of the terrarium. I apologize for that. Can you guys take a look and see what that's? We got the rocks on the bottom, the soil in the middle, and then the clover. If you take a look at it, the clover is sitting right on top of the soil. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
If I'm going too fast, just let me know.
Back up a little bit. Good. That's what it looks like on the inside.
So the idea of a terrarium, you want to put that in a sunny spot, maybe up on a windowsill, and the idea is a little bit of a planting. Go ahead.
Other plants that would be good in the terrarium?
So you saw the one about the aloe is good. I would say any plant that grows short. Think something like microgreens. That would be fun to experience if you're growing from seed. And a micro.
Tiny succulent would probably be good.
A succulent would be awesome. If you can get a succulent. So these jars are not very large. A lot of people use what they have on hand, and that would be a spaghetti jar, something like that. And that would be bigger than that would be bigger than this right here. And you could fit a few more things inside of the jar than the ones that I have. I got a small jar because I just thought that when you're starting to do these projects, the more you do, the more stuff you wind up around the house. And I just got small ones to keep that at a minimum. So the next one is leaf painting. And I found that the leaf painting can get a bit messy. Darlene, there's some gloves over there. I found that it can get a bit messy, and I know I didn't put gloves down as a requirement, but if you have a plastic glove or rubber glove, something like that would be awesome. So we have our colored paper. We have different types of colored paper, and the leaf painting, to have the leaf painting, you need falling leaves, the acrylic paint, some paint brushes, paper, and a craft knife. Now the craft knife is optional. You'd be, are they right there? You would be cutting up your leaves and or your paper to hang or handle it. But other than that, I bought in a few leaves, different ones from around my home. And the idea that somehow this is supposed to be a fall project, you get fallen leaves, that's cool. I grabbed some off the trees, I grabbed some that were fallen. I just picked up quite a few different ones that looked interesting to me. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this project. One of them is to take the paint, and we're going to use blue, and just put it directly on the leaf. I'm going to use one where we're going to do it on the back, and then one where we're going to do it on the front. And we'll see which one gets the best transfer. So we're just taking the paint and just spreading it on this one right here is on the back of the leaf, as you can see. And I'm just going to press it onto the paper. Keep in mind how much pressure you put on it changes the way the leaf, the impression looks. But that's what you wind up with. And what I thought was real cool is that you can keep pressing the leaf in different directions and just keep using all that paint. Let's use a red and do the other side of the same leaf. It's a little messy. If you notice, I'm spreading it all over the place, but we're just going to keep using the leaf to paint. And as you can see, it looks like the reverse side, you get a better impression. Can you see that? So if you're doing one side or the other, I would suggest doing the side where the veins show. That'll give you a better impression of your leaf painting. Now there's this way where you actually paint the leaf. And the other option, which is why I grabbed a few of these pieces, would be to put a little paint down and to use the leaf as your paintbrush and actually drag it across the paper and make a design. Now you saw how terrible my design was with the flower pot, so I'm not going to try to draw one here, but the idea is that you can use nature to create something a little bit different. I like to take some of the pieces once I have created whatever it is I'm creating and add just a few, pieces that I dropped onto the paper to give it a little texture, something original and something different. And yeah, that's basically it for the leaf painting. Next, we're going to work on the sun catchers. And I think that the sun catchers are one of my favorite. I kind of enjoy doing the sun catchers the most because I think that they show up pretty cool. And they look good in the garden when you get through making them. To make the sun catchers, you need large paper plates, which I have here, a glue stick, scissors, wax paper, and leaves, buttons, flowers, anything that you want displayed. And to that point, we went and grabbed some feathers. These are some very light and small feathers, if you can see, and you can almost see some of the pieces of the feathers falling off. I grabbed some heavier feathers. You guys can take a look at those.
John, a question about the leaf painting. Are the leaves dry or fresh?
Both. The leaves are dry and they are fresh because with the larger leaf and it fell, I was going to show you guys that what some people do, and this is why you would need your craft knife. For a leaf like this, some people might put a face on this and then maybe, hold that up as a mask, cut the eyes out, maybe a mouth. So there's options to it. I just didn't tell you because that one had fallen on the ground and I couldn't reach it. Again, thank you. One of the things that we also did was we used a few hole punches. If I can find them real quick, if you guys can see those. The different designs on the hole punches, just something different. I know again, we didn't add that down, but this is just on the lines of if you want to add something unique. And let me show you, before we make one, let me show you some of the examples of what I've already made. So using the ribbon, You guys can see these are the flowers. I mean, sorry, the feathers. Can you see those? Okay. Here are the cutouts from the hole punch, and here's a couple buttons. So again, in order to get started, all you need is a paper plate, and you want to take your scissors and you want to cut the middle of the plate out. So I like to follow that indentation that's in the middle of the plate. There's no correct circumference or diameter. It really is how you want it. Some people take the scissors, stick them inside and cut, and that's kind of what I did for this one. And if you were doing that, you would just take your ribbon and wrap it around the outside of the plate. So again, we have a plate that's been cut. We need 2 pieces of wax paper, and I have them here. The wax paper would be about the size of the plate. You're going to cut it to fit anyway. But once you've gotten your wax paper out, you need your glue stick, and then you can add whatever it is that you think you'd like to add for your sun catcher. I'm going to do a few feathers. Cool soundtrack if you guys heard that. And basically what I'm going to do is just take the glue and rub it all over the bottom piece of wax paper. All over the entire space that you want to put whatever it is that you want to put on it. So we could have used these leaves, we could use anything. I just think that the feathers are kind of pretty with all the different colors and the frilly look. And the idea of putting the glue is so that they don't fall off. And you need a second piece of paper. And you're going to put the glue on that second piece of paper also, and then turn the glued side onto the piece you just finished. Like so. Take your 2 plates.
Someone suggested glitter as an option.
Glitter is always a sexy option. I love glitter just as much as I like sprinkles. They're for heroes and champions, and glitter is a great option. Whoever said it, A+ 100 for the class. That was Katie. Katie, you get an A+ 100 for the class. Is it my team member, Katie?
She said yes.
She said yes. How you doing? And welcome to the class, Katie. So as you guys see, if we can beat this Bay wind, this Bay Area wind that's fighting me, I basically just took the glue and stuck it on the bottom plate and on the top plate, and I'm pressing it down. And then you want to trim this to size. So as I'm doing this, well, making a mess a little bit. Where's my ribbon? I want to take a little bit of ribbon and we're going to hang this one. And what I'm going to do, I have a hole punch, but I'm just going to take the knife. I'm sorry, I'm just going to take the scissors and stick it in and get a little hole going and tie a knot.
You're at 6 now. You got it right on, by the way.
And you have your sun catcher. Pretty easy. Okay, we ready for the next one? And the next one would be our river rocks, our river rock markers. And a lot of people like to use the river rocks. Thank you. They like to use the river rocks in their garden. So to that point, if you could tell a strawberry, a mint, peas, basically we go into the river, find a few different rocks, different sizes. Some are larger than others. I brought these from home, so I brought some portable rocks, but it doesn't matter what size that you get. And some people like to use wooden stakes. I would say use whatever is available, but the idea is to basically take the rock. Have we used yellow? Yeah. Oh, look at that. My pretty blue one. Let's paint a rock. Let's use the white. I put it directly onto the rock's surface, and then I just go for it, you know. So if you're going to paint the rock and then paint words on it, you have to paint the rock first, let it dry. And then once you let the rock dry, you can come back over with and paint it. If you noticed, I've had more than one paintbrush. I have some larger ones and some smaller ones to be a little detailed with the words that I use. But basically, if you can tell, this is just gonna, so with this acrylic paint, you have to give it more than one coat. I'd be patient with it. The thicker you put the coat on, the longer it takes to dry. But basically, that's the idea, just putting the base coat down. And then if you wanted to add words, you could add those words and drawings later. Even put your name and stick your name in the garden. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? The idea behind the ruler is if you want to be perfect, you can line up the ruler and draw lines, and then take a marker and pre-draw or pre-position your, that's a question?
Paint be enamel.
Should the what?
Paint be enamel.
Well, should the paint be enamel? I am using acrylic paint. And if I wanted to seal this, I would use Mod Podge on the outside. So I guess you could use enamel, and the idea would be to preserve it, right? Right. So I would be using a Mod Podge if I were worried about that, but I'm not. So you could use enamel, yes. I even have a little love rock going on here, so you don't necessarily have to have anything in mind. You can do any kind of designs that you like. Yep. So there's a couple of different ways to do a scavenger or a bug hunt. And we had quite a time trying to figure out exactly which way we want to introduce to you guys. And if you look around, you can tell it's the weather's a little crazy. So we've been looking in the garden to see if we could find some examples, and it's been a little difficult today. So what I wanted to do was give you the apps that we were going to use. One of them is called Insect Identification, and you can go on to the App Store and find it. And the other one is a Picture Insect Bug Identifier. Both of them are both on the app, and the idea on the in the App Store, I'm sorry, the idea behind them is to go out in the garden and explore your space. Take a picture of something exciting or something interesting that you saw, and talk about it. I also brought in a couple of loops. This one being a garden loop, a jeweler's loop. Gives you an idea or an opportunity to look at stuff a little bit closer. And the way you would use it, there is a light to it. You don't necessarily need the light, but you put it pretty close to your face. And then you would take whatever you're looking at and put it close to the loop. and then take a look at it. If you're looking at an insect and you don't want to touch it, you got to get a little close. So this one would be for smaller insects like aphids and things like that.
That's the kind the master gardeners use, and they're not expensive, and you can get them on Amazon easily.
What I'm being told is this is the type that the master gardeners use, and they're not expensive. You can get them on Amazon quite easily. This is another one that I found, and I actually found this as a toy in a toy department, and again, it was inexpensive, but it has a light on it, and it has an aperture where you can go closer or further away. And the only other thing I would suggest other than something like this would be a mini microscope. And they make them, they're relatively small. But the idea is just to get a little closer to your subject or whatever it is that you're looking at. Any questions about that?
What's it called again? Probably the loop.
This is called a jeweler's loop, L-O-O-P or L-O-U-P-E sometimes. It goes both ways. But basically it's just a loop, and this is a miniature microscope. They both have more than one magnification. This one has a 30 by 22 and a 60 by 12. So you can get really close and get some really good detail. What I like to use those for is if I pick up a leaf and I look at the back of the leaf, sometimes you find insects there. I was mentioning aphids. This is perfect because an aphid probably won't go very far, and you can really get some close-up definition on taking a look at what they got going on. I'm getting the thumbs up. That's no questions? No questions. Maybe I'm being thorough. I don't know. That is all 6 of those ideas that we want to present you with today. And what are we doing as far as time?
We are at 11:37.
Wow. And there's no questions? We kind of whizzed right through everything as far as what we needed to discuss.
You could ask if anybody wants to see any of the finished products of anything again.
I could do that. Does anybody want to see any of the finished products that we did? Or do you have any questions about how to design anything that I may have overlooked or moved a little too fast for you?
Want to, so we'll see
What are we talking about?
What do they want to see? Somebody said they want to see
the finished projects.
Okay, all of them?
All the finished projects? There's one right there. I need both.
Somebody wants to see, I would love to hear about your garden space as well.
Oh. So the garden space, that's what I heard, right? They want to see about the garden space behind us. We wanted to open up the space and show you guys a little bit more, but with the weather the way it is, we had to kind of get stationary underneath a tent. So it's difficult unless we can zoom in and out to show you. But we basically have a few of the brassicas that are left from this winter that we're going to be pulling out. And that's an eggplant that just died, and we're moving back. If you can look in the foreground, you can see Swiss chard, there's cabbage, and broccoli. Are we working on it? So here's some of the finished projects. I think we're missing a piece. Something happened.
Here, give it to me. I'll run it right in front of the camera.
Here are a few of our sun catchers. And the reason I picked all of these is because they all have similar pieces. The paint goes with a lot. Everything was inexpensive. It didn't cost a whole lot to put this together. I think the most expensive thing was the paint itself. The pots I bought from Michael's, and I might have spent $2 or $3 on the whole bag of pots. And again, the paint goes with everything. You could decorate these things any way you want. You can decorate the sun catchers if you want. If you wanted to paint them, you could. And you could be as creative as you wanted. As far as the river rocks, one of the things that I wanted to do, I'm a prior service military man, and I was going to write Army on one of the rocks.
And John, we have a question on what type of paper was used.
What type
Construction.
Of
What type of paper, I think, was the question that we're using. Was that it?
in the center of the sun catcher?
In the center of the sun catchers, that's wax paper. Wax paper is in the center of the sun catcher so that you can see through it and that it can hold on to that glue pretty easily.
There's another really, really good question, and it was, what about activities you recommend related to the planters and working with the kids?
That's very interesting. I think that the question is, what activities would I recommend as far as planting?
In activities related to the planters and working with the kids.
Related to the planters.
The garden planters, the raised beds.
The raised beds behind me. Okay, I wasn't clear about that at first. What activities? Well, I think that if you're trying to introduce someone to the garden, it's very important that mindfulness exercise that we talked about, a way to get them oriented into the space the right way. Once you've gotten a person oriented to the space, what I love doing with children is just doing, I take some of the rocks that we have and I'll hide them in the garden. I'll ask them to find that rock and then tell me where it was, name something interesting or something that you thought that was interesting that you found near or around that rock. It could be a part of the plant itself. It could be something in the soil. You might have found something a little bit more interesting than everyone else saw. My idea to introduce kids in the garden is always fun, it's always interactive, and it's always exciting. I think that one of the most exciting things to do is eat when you're in the garden. So I try to find something that's tasty. I try to plant things like that are unique and original to spark a kid's creativity, because you never know where they're going to take what good idea you thought you had.
I'm gonna have another idea for you. If kids love to plant seeds, so if you pick a big enough seed, like a squash seed, a pumpkin, make the furrow and let them drop them in. That's another great kid one.
The idea was to have them come out and plant with you. We were talking about pumpkin seeds, make the furrow and actually have them drop the seeds in. I don't know that I stay away from informing kids. I like to tell them about as much information as I have while I'm doing it, and let them tell me when I'm speaking Greek or when it's too much information. But personally, if it's something that they're doing and I'm involved in and we're planting, I think it should be a lot more exciting than lawn work, which probably turns a lot of people off to gardening. Pushing a lawnmower, raking, oh my goodness. If we could get away from that for a quick, I know it's necessary, but you know, planting something that they can grow and appreciate later definitely changes the way you see the activity.
There's one more question. Where did you get the feathers that you showed earlier?
Just about everything that I grabbed from Michael's, the craft store, or Hobby Lobby. I tried to stay as generic a space as possible to make sure that there was probably one in everyone's area, but I actually saw a few of these items at Walmart. Any more questions?
There's a comment that Stevia plants would be good, and I think that maybe they're talking about plant with kids.
To put in the terrarium?
I asked the question, maybe someone said, Carlos said Stevia plants would be good, and we're wondering for what of the projects.
I'm not sure. So the question is about Stevia plants, and I'm not really sure what the question.
No, Carlos just mentioned they would be good, but it's not clear for what.
So Carlos just mentioned that the Stevia plant would be good. What would the plant be good for, Carlos? Are you talking about putting inside?
Tasting, for the kids to taste.
The taste, because of the sweetness. So yeah, that's interesting.
Good job.
I like that. I agree with that. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Sometimes when you harvest in the garden, you're harvesting the leaf itself and not actually the fruit. And that would be a unique way to show a child or even an adult, because I'm learning as I go along how connected we are and what we can do with what we grow.
Anybody have any other questions for John? Any concerns about the project, about
You
gardening
might
in
mention
general?
in this kind of weather, these are great being erected.
You know, one of the things that unintentionally wound up happening is the weather turned on us. And these would be awesome activities to do while you're inside, waiting for it to warm up. Some people, I'm not exactly sure where everyone is in the world or the nation that's watching, but some people got a lot of snow out. And this would be a great opportunity to kind of like hang out while you're enjoying that snow. We're in California. It's not sunny California, but we definitely aren't enjoying the snow. So this would be something that take your mind off of Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
You got 2 questions. The first one is, where did you get that cool hat?
Oh my goodness. Where did I get that cool hat? You know, actually from a gas station. I have no idea.
The other question is, do you have any other suggestions on tasty things kids like to eat from the garden?
Do you have any suggestion on tasty things that kids like to eat from the garden? Kids love little tiny things they can pop in their mouths, like those tiny grape tomatoes or grapes, strawberries. One of the awesome things that I've seen around here are gooseberries. You name it, if it's tiny and small, they'll go for it. I even think that kids like a bit more developed taste, like an arugula sometimes, if you can explain why the taste is the way it is. So arugula has a spice to it, dill.
Carrots, because carrots are very sweet. So carrots, kids love to drag them up.
That's another thing. We just heard us comment about carrots. Carrots are very sweet, but there's also a lot of heirloom varieties of carrots that'll give a person a broader understanding of that vegetable also. A purple carrot tastes a little different than an orange one does.
Someone was questioning hot peppers.
What about them? I don't eat them. I don't know if you want to torture a kid with hot peppers. I'd say go for it, but I'm just joking. Oh my goodness. That's it?
That's it for the moment.
So I want to take the time to again remind you guys that we're in Emmanuel Temple, the church right behind us. They were awesome enough. Pastor Brian Harris allowed us to use his space. If this weren't quarantine, what we would have had would have been kids in the garden actually performing some of these crafts, but we had to amend our production because we want to be more safe and mindful about coronavirus and spreading that. But the pastor was nice enough to allow us to still use his space, and we want to say thank you. I'm humbled that Sustainable Solano allowed me to be a part of their teaching series and reach out to you guys. And I want to say a thank you to Dylan and Darlene. I know you can't see them as you guys are listening to me and watching me talk, but they are videotaping this. They are from Shadow Power. And I believe we're going to have this produced, and it'll be in more than one place. If you are connected with Sustainable Solano, I'm sure you can get the information from them in order to watch it again. And that would be a thank you to Gabriela for helping and hosting this. This was awesome. Are there any more questions? And incidentally, whoever asked the question about the hat, now you're going to make me go home and try to figure out where did I really get this thing. Carlos Clyburn. Okay, I wanted to tell you, you were talking about the gardens, some of the few things that we're doing in the Emmanuel Temple Garden. We're going to be expanding it a little bit, adding a strawberry field. We're going to be putting in the kids portion of the garden, and then that's going to kind of be like where the melons are going to be. So there's some pretty exciting things happening here at the Emmanuel Temple Garden also. Listen, I'm humbled to be allowed to do this for you guys. This is a life's passion of mine, to be in the garden. My company is called Ground Troops, and I look at that as a play on words. I'm a veteran, and I like to use the soil to ground troops. We need to get more aware of how we interact with our food, where it comes from, and we also want to make sure that we are more self-reliant and self-sufficient, and I believe that gardening helps us do all of those things. So thank you for your time, and thank you. Good day.